So everyone by now knows my Flustercuck, and I gave it a prune job this morning, as well as changed the little lower bits, and I'll explain why I did this. Because I'm tired of running around my house tripping over things forever. So let's see if I can find a piece of paper that I can write on to show you the before and after picture. Of course, there's a shadow, for God's sake. Is better. Okay. Again, the same problem happens. This thing, the camera, is in the way of my eyeball. So the before picture was the Flustercuckage base is here, which is a tripod. There are two chairs which are here. There was a table right here, and the couch is here. And everything was shoved this way as far as it could go in order to make room to walk around the Northwest Passage. There's really no way to get through the Panama Canal. That's blocked. But you can walk around, but you have to walk around sideways and hold your gut in to be able to get through. Oh, there's another table here. So what I did was I did a table-ectomy, got rid of that, which is now over here. This was handy because it held my pencils for the iPad, it held my pencils for my paper, it held the top of which held my coffee cup. But you know, it was handy. But I've moved into this area two other tripoded bases, and here's where the cleverness comes in. Is there another piece of paper? Damn it. Okay, let's try one that isn't wrinkled. So here we have this tripod of the Flustercuckage, which has a span as it goes up. It creates this sort of tree-shaped thing. The side view of the Flustercuckage is here's the base, here's a limb, here's another limb, there's a bunch of shit here. This used to hold a X-ray camera for a dentist. So now instead of holding that device, it has an iPad, it has an upside down tripod that has a lamp on it and some Christmas ornaments and some fezzes. You have to have a fez, right? So that's what this is holding. And it holds power strips of all of the electrification of this thing. It's like 3 power strips that are making this thing go. The main part of the base has all sorts of tripods strapped to it with bungee cords and hose clamps and plastic ties, and it has lots of fezzes, and it has a disco ball, and it has another disco ball, and some more lighting, which bounces the light around, and a ukulele. And so again, it's this, it looks like an upside down tree, or a right side up tree. The tripods are all upside down, but the tree is right side up. So what I did was, here's my couch again. I moved here, I took out that table, which because of the square edges of the table, I couldn't move the Flustercuckage further toward the couch. But by removing this, I took this cast iron other tripod-y thing, a drawing table base, which I kept tripping over and stubbing my toe on and all that kind of stuff. I moved that here, and then I moved a cast iron ashtray with beautiful, I'll draw a picture of that in a moment. That's also another tripod. So that's here. And I was able to move all of this like a glacier with its erratics stuck in it. I was able to move all of it closer to the couch by about 3 inches. And I might even be able to push it a little bit further in. Of course, the chair is now able to move over this way, and the table that's connected to that is able. So right now, my foot, which used to be able to, my left foot, which used to be able to maneuver all these different ways, now hits this thing, the table, the chair leg, which bothers me a little bit, but I'll get used to it, I think. It's horrible living the way I do. If I lift up my leg and sort of put it over here, then if I want to go somewhere, I have to lift it up and go over that way. It's not easy. There's not room to just stand up and move it this way. I have to lift it over the parapet. You know what the Germans should have done? Had the Germans in World War II hired me to put the defenses up along Normandy Beach, we'd still be at war. I don't know whether they would have gotten around to launching an attack against the United States, but the Nazis would still have Europe if I was in charge of putting a barricade up along the Normandy beach, because I can't even fucking walk through my house and I don't have people shooting me. So anyway, this may bother me, this little thing right here, but normally I sit down and I don't need, maybe I can move everything that way a little bit, but then my 3/4 roommate would have a hard time getting into his chair over here when we watch the iPad together. Our butts are right here. Draw them calipagistically. And then we have there's an iPad connected right here. So another thing I did with the Flustercuckage, I had all of these complicated things that would hold the iPad, and I just removed them. I made a simple thing to hold the iPad. So I've done some pruning on this thing. Before, this thing had a thing with the iPad here. Well, now the iPad is here. So this thing is missing. The iPad is still there. So anyway, I like it so far. And where these two things were, this thing, the table that was there is now a few feet away, and it's replacing something I'm going to throw out. Yes, can you believe it? I should call the press. Pierre Gustafson is throwing something away. Unless I figure out that I don't want to throw it away. But right now, this thing that had the table that had some pencils and some extra batteries for my ukulele tuner and things like that, that's not here. It's over here. So if I need to replace a battery for my ukulele tuner, I have to reach up, move my butt a little bit closer to the edge here, move my foot in order to do that first, and then take it out of the drawer, maybe. So, but anytime I throw anything out of my house, an angel gets its wings. So keep that in mind. This is really bothering me though, this thing right here. Is there any way that I can fix that? The chair has to stay because it's where I put my feet up when I want to lie down and drink coffee for 3 hours instead of doing work. But all in all, it's easier to go around the thing now. It doesn't really bother me too much what's happening here. Again, I may shift this whole thing that way a little bit in order for this not to be a problem. And then I'd sit this way and sort of do that, which I don't know if that's any more comfortable or not. But that's the plan. What am I writing with, you ask? I'm writing with my Duofold Junior. I think I got this on eBay, and this was a real surprise. I sort of valued it in my head as sort of a meh valuation, because it was very discolored. It's green. You can't tell that in the dark here. You can't even tell it with the light. Can you tell that it's green now? No. But it has little initials, NGG, which I like. As you know, I like initials. It has teeth mark, which don't bother me. But it has a really cool nib that wants me to sit up and take notice. There's a certain sharpness to it that demands attention. It's not shrill. It's too much of a baritone to be shrill, but imagine a baritone that's shrill. Just a little bit piercing. That's sort of what this nib reminds me of. This is really bothering me because I have to sit side set. I have to sit like this. And my body is turned this way. So, how is this going to work? Put my pen away. I just have to sit further this way. I don't like sitting further that way. Can I just move this entire thing? No, I can't. Well, I guess I just have to, I have to put one foot on one side and one foot on the other. That'll sort of force me to face straight ahead. So here's the Flustercuckage. Turn on some lights. See, there's all sorts of different lighting that I can use. This new light I added here, which casts a very weird glow. There's lights up there. There's a light right here. I can turn on here. And this can go over my book I'm reading. Of course, it's crazy. Okay, how do I turn this one off? Where did the switch go for this one? Right there. I have this light, magic light that just your finger touches the end of it. They are going to find me, a friend of mine, he sent me a YouTube video with a ukulele song being sung on the ukulele, and I said I wanted to learn how to play the Erlkönig on the ukulele, and he laughed and said they'd have to have the police come in and use the jaws of life to extract me from the strings, which is true, but they're going to need the jaws of life to get me out of this thing, because this is just sort of growing. Even though I pruned it, it's growing a little bit, and I'm trying to get some of the wires, electrical wires, condensified, but that makes it harder for me to change the lighting if I want to change it, which I just did today. But again, there's really cool lights. There's this one here, which is on this mirror. Okay, you can't see what I'm doing here. Where's the light? If I could figure it, here's the plug for the mirror. Anyway, the mirror lights up. It's a little white round light that helps me adjust my makeup. And let me just see if I can find a plug to put it in. Hold on. I can't. I think if I plug this in to an extension cord, then I'll completely, all of Boston and the East Coast will go into pitch darkness. There's a light here that's plugged in somewhere. I don't know where. But look, here's some plugs. There's a power strip here. Power strip here. But this is one of those annoying ones that has the big clunky plug because it has the transformer in it, and which makes it impossible to just plug it in because you have to unplug 3 things to be able to plug it in. But I sit here in the morning and I just look at this thing, and it's so much fun to look at, and it's great fun to draw because there's just so much. It's like I drew a willow tree a couple of days ago, and I was like 3 feet from the trunk, 5 feet from the trunk. So the canopy of the willow tree was around behind me and above me and on either side of me. And there are so many goddamn branches, twigs, I guess you'd call them, the droopy bits that have the leaves on them. It's not a limb, and it seems too flexible to be called a twig, but I guess it's a twig. And there were some that were yellow and were alive, and there were some that were gray and were dead, and there were some that were black and they were even deader, and there were some in shadow, some in light, and it was like I was stuck in the middle of imagine that there was a conclave of elderly women doing knitting in a suburb of London, and back in the days when they had the Troubles and the IRA was doing things, and the IRA, we have to have it be in a yarn store. They were doing a instructional class on advanced knitting, and you had 10 knitters knitting, and you had all of the store stock around them, and the bomb went off. And that's what this looks like. I'm in the middle of the wreckage of a bombing of a knitting emporium. And it's fun because when you're drawing it, when you're looking at it, for one thing, your eyes just glaze over, and you can't make sense of it, and you're sort of numbed by what you see. And that's kind of a nice feeling for me. Yeah, that's what I said. I like being numbed. And then when I try to draw it, it's really fascinating just to try to make sense. How do you turn this into something that looks good? It looks like shit right now, but how do you make it into something that looks good? And it's really, really hard. It was hard to draw that willow tree, but I did, and I think it turned out okay. Let me see if I can show you some drawings I did of the iPad here, on the iPad of this very thing. On one of my apps here, I often draw this on my iPad, and couch. Does this have view of couch? This doesn't. Well, that's stupid. Okay, but here's one of them. Okay, turn off this light. Turn off this light. So here's one of the drawings. Now it's chaotic, but isn't it fun? Let's see, is there another drawing there? Here's another drawing of the same scene. And again, I turned it into something that kind of makes sense, visually speaking. Oops, I don't want that. Same. I haven't moved my butt or my legs. I just moved my eyeballs a little bit, or maybe I changed the lighting. But it's just a nice exercise in how to. Okay, so here's again what it looked like, photograph of it. Another photograph of it. There's the ukulele. So how do you look at that scene, or looking up? How do you look at the scene that's in front of your eyeballs and make sense of it? And it's really hard when it's this nightmare of craziness. But it's a good exercise. Back to gallery. Okay, here's one in color. So you see I think that's an iPad that was turned on that I was listening to. I got rid of this thing, this racky thing here that held an iPad. Here's another iPad that's turned off. There's my window. Here's that round light to adjust your makeup. Red fezzes. Here's the red apple that's hanging from it. This is the tree of knowledge. Guess that's the only one I have there. So again, when I sit here and I look at what's in front of me, I find it just a fascinating I find it just fascinating to as an artist to try to figure out a way to turn chaos into order. So that's one thing that's fun. As a non-artist human, and I look at something like this, even if it's something I made, which it was, finding order in it or logic in it might be a little harder, but it's interesting just to have something like this in front of you. And you can have something like this in front of you too. All of you. You could take the junk drawer, which might be in your kitchen, it might be by the front door, and you just take it out, pull it out of the cabinet, and you turn it upside down, or better yet, just leave it the way it is and draw it. Don't move a thing. Don't try to move this one little tiny thing over here to make it look better, because then you're going to start organizing and there'll be little rows of pencils and paper clips and condom packages and things, whatever you have in your drawers. And that's going to make it look too organized. You want it to have the chaos of nature, and try to draw it, try to make sense of it. Another thing is to take laundry and draw it, dirty laundry, not clean laundry. Just the pile of clothes that you have on the floor, like I have. Maybe you put it in a hamper. You can open up the lid of the hamper and look down, or you can look at your, maybe you're all too organized to have chaos around you. My ex-boyfriend did not allow chaos to exist. I'm surprised he allowed me to visit him. but he would, cut down a 10-foot tree. Now, he would cut off a 10-foot, 15-foot long branch of one of the two trees he actually had in his house. And he was able to, with his pruning scissors, shears, pruning, whatever they're called, pruners, and limb cutter tools, he would condense this thing that was 10 feet long and had a breadth of maybe 6 feet, and with hundreds of leaves on it. He was able to cut it all up and put it into a garbage bag. I thought, why? Why are you doing that? But it was amazing to watch how this thing would turn into just little tiny sticks that were no bigger than like 10 inches long, and he would just put it all in a bag and put it out on the curb. And that was kind of amazing. He would not allow chaos of any sort to exist in his house. So, see, but this is what my house looks like. This is a floor plan of, if I were to look at this 20 years from now, I'm not going to be alive then, I'd say, what the hell was I thinking? But eventually, when I see things that I did 20 years ago that look just like this, as I'm trying to organize something, I think, oh, I remember, that's how I did my studio for Open Studios in 1991. There's enough factoids in there to explain it to me, to decipher. Again, it's like looking at this thing. There's a way for me to decipher this chaos. Here's the apple. And one day I'll figure it out. Oh, it's my first day of work today. I've been hired by Consigli Construction to illustrate their building of the building next door. And I'm due to put on my hard hat they gave me to walk through the interior of the site. I've only seen it from the outside, but now I get to go inside, and they're going to ask me to start illustrating this is the last week that the iron workers, Local 7 iron workers, are going to be working on the building, and they want me to illustrate the various trades and unions and craftsmen that are in the process of constructing this building. And I've been having a great time drawing this without being paid, but now they're going to pay me, and hopefully they're not going to clip my wings too much, so I can still see the site through my eyes, which sometimes see humor. Sometimes I compose the pictures to be a little bit weird. There was yesterday, or the day before, I was drawing the scene, and there were 3 workers wearing their chartreuse vests, their Dayglow chartreuse vests, and I can't find it, so I'll find it here. And I saw this view. There was this little walkway that had a roof over it for some reason. Oh, I see. It was sort of at the edge of the building, so it's where the people would go into the building, and in case someone dropped a bucket, it wouldn't kill them. So that was why that was there. So there were 3 guys wearing these chartreuse jackets, and their hard hats, and they were looking all down at some guy down here that was doing something on the ground. I don't know what he was doing. And I said, it looked like a creche to me. Looked like the three wise men and the Virgin is down there somewhere. And I don't think that there's a Virgin on that site. I'm just saying. So I drew this, and then these little interior lights reminded me of the Starry Night, you know, in Bethlehem. And so anyway, this I entitled the Nativity or something like that. And they might not want this drawing on their website because, you know, they might find that might offend someone. And but this is something that I thought was very funny. So I see things that are funny all the time, and or try to find things that are funny, and or make something funny. I'm looking at a serious, you know, car wreck on the highway, and bodies and body parts are strewn everywhere, and I'll try to find something that you know, might be humorous to focus on. Maybe the blinking turn signal of the car that still somehow has one little tiny bit of battery going. Like we were signaling before the semi ran into us. Okay. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more of this. Ring the bell. I hate when people say that. And I just said it. I hate me. I hate myself. I've got self-loathing. Bye.